Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Isabel and this is my library. Today I'm going to share with you everything that I read in the month of March. I can't believe March is over already. By the time you see this video, my April TBR will already have been posted, but before I can fully dive into my April reads, I want to share with you everything that I read in the month of March. So for those of you who enjoy stats, I know I love looking at videos that have statistics, so I'll go ahead and share a couple stats with you. So this month I read a total of 12 books. 3 of those were manga, 2 of them were nonfiction reads, 3 were middle grade, 1 was a horror dystopian novel, 1 was a romance lit fic, another one was horror, and the last one was a sci-fi thriller. This month, I read a total of 2,468 pages. The page count is slightly higher than usual simply because I did read 3 mangas and I did read 3 middle grade books. So those are pretty quick reads. Now, as far as sharing with you the books that I read, I'll go ahead and share them from my least favorite book that I read this month to my absolute favorite book. And P.S. as a little spoiler, I found 2 new 5 stars this month. But before we get to the things that I loved, I'll go ahead and start with the things that I didn't really love. So the first book, which is the lowest book out of all 12 of the books that I read this month, is Listen to Your Sister by Nina Veal. So this book was a big disappointment. It was not for me. I did read this because it was a part of the book troop. It's the book troop's March pick for the book club that Gabby runs from Gabby Reads. And when I'm reading a book for a book club or when I am reading a book for a buddy read, I don't make a habit of DNFing. I know I said to myself that this year I'm going to be better about DNFing, and I promise I will. But books that I have made a commitment, either to someone or to myself, that I want to finish, I will finish. I went ahead and pushed myself to finish this, and it ended up being 1 star. So the premise of the book is we are following an older sister named Kala, and she has 2 younger brothers, Dre and Jamie. And she's pretty much been like a mother figure to the youngest brother. They've been alone, the 3 of them, for the recent part of their lives. And basically the premise is that the middle brother is kind of off doing his own thing, and Jamie is under the care of Kala, and he's misbehaving in school. He's getting in trouble. He's smoking weed, and she's trying to be a mother figure for him and guide him as best as she can, but it's tough for her. She also suffers from these like nightmares, which is like one recurrent nightmare, really. And this recurrent nightmare kind of haunts her. And that's part of what I really didn't enjoy about this book. In this book, the characters have like nightmares or visions and stuff like that. And it was really difficult to distinguish what part of this was a nightmare, what part of this was real or not. Another thing that I really didn't enjoy is that I knew that the premise of this was that the 3 of them end up in this cabin, right? And that, weird, spooky, supernatural things start happening in this cabin. That's what I knew about it. And I felt that the beginning of the book dragged for so long. It felt like I was halfway through the book and they were still not in the cabin. Like that still had not happened. And so I really didn't enjoy that. Like I wanted already to get to the part where we're in the cabin and the stuff starts happening. And I really didn't enjoy the narrative style either. I didn't enjoy the dialogue between the siblings. I was just not enjoying the narrative. And the lack of enjoyment of the narrative, the very slow paced beginning of the book, and the inability for there to be like a distinguished line between this is what is happening, these are the nightmares, these are the visions, that really was not fun. There were like briefly, because I don't want to spoil anything for you in case you are interested in picking this up. I'm sure this is, I've seen some reviews online, and some people are enjoying this. It's very polarizing. Either I'm seeing like 4 or 5 stars, or like 1 or 2 stars. Um, Part of what I didn't like, or what I thought added to that confusion, is that there were different versions of some of the characters. So they would say like, oh, college Kala or prom Kala, and it was a lot, guys. Like, and I'm a big horror person. I like my horror to be clear cut. I want to know what's happening. I don't think confusion should be a part of the plot or the narrative unless that's something that you're going for. And I'm not really sure that that's what the book was trying to do. Yeah, so this was just a big miss for me, unfortunately, and I don't recommend. Uh, and I don't think I'll be reading from this author again unless it's, something that has gotten really good reviews. But yeah, this was my least favorite out of all the things I read this month. So we jump from a 1-star rating to a 3-star rating. So that pretty much tells you that everything else on this stack is at least 3, 4, or 5 stars, which is a good thing. That's a really good thing, guys. So the next book I want to tell you about is More Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark by Alvin Schwartz. And of course, this was a reread from me. I have read this before in my childhood many, many times. I kept always checking it out from the library over and over again until my mom got me my own copies of the trilogy. And this was still a lot of fun. I didn't enjoy it as much as Volume 1, which you'll see in a little bit, but I still think that it was really, really good. If you've never heard of this before, it's made up of like these little stories, and they have some very creepy illustrations from my youth. I think that's what stayed with me the most of this book, the very, very ominous and creepy illustrations. I think that's like the strongest part of this book. And it is divided into sections. There's even some little songs. There's stories to share and sleepovers with your friends, and it even tells you like, oh, now you jump and say boo, so campfire stories. And it's really interesting the way that it's put together. It was just a 3-star for me because some of the stories were not particularly interesting to me. A lot of the stories I feel like I had heard of before, which is to be a fact about this collection. He has pieced together stories from folklore and different places of origin, and it actually cites them in the back. Like, it lets you know where the stories come from, and there's like footnotes and everything, which I found to be very interesting. This book has like a lot of notes and stuff. I obviously don't remember that from my childhood because what 8-year-old is looking at the footnotes in the back, wondering where these stories came from. But adult me obviously is interested in that. And yeah, I read this for middle grade March. I tried to theme all of my middle grade selections for this challenge to be nostalgic, simply because I enjoy being able to tap into some nostalgic reads whenever I can. So yeah, this was More Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, and it was a 3-star rating. So the next thing on my list is a 4-star ratings. The next thing that I read that I really enjoyed was Spy Family Volume 1. And I have been wanting to read this for a really long time. First, when I tried buying Volume 1, it's when Spy Family was really, really popular, or was like being read, I think, by everyone. And it took me forever to be able to find a copy of Spy Family 1. And actually, a friend of mine gifted it, like found it for me and gifted it to me, because it was so difficult for me to find Volume 1. Physically, it's the only copy that I have, because I tend to, for my manga, just buy the first volume, and then I decide from that point forward if I want to continue reading the series, or if I want to continue purchasing them to add them, to my collection, or if the digital versions will do. It's choices that I make, simply because it's just, manga is something you consume so quickly, and it does take up a lot of shelf space. I look up there because that's my manga section, but it does take up like a lot of shelf space. So yeah, I'm kind of cautious, or more careful about which mangas I get into and I want to have physically, simply for those reasons. But Spy Family 1 was great, and I am so glad that I read it. I did rate this 4 stars. I thought it was adorable and warm and fuzzy and cute. I was familiar with the storyline, obviously, from everywhere, being exposed to it on social media and everywhere. And my husband has also seen the anime, so I was aware of the premise. If you're not aware of the premise, in it we are following um, this spy, Twilight, and he is like on a mission, and to be able to complete his that mission in particular, he has to acquire a child, and he has to find a significant other and have like this family, if you will, to be able to accomplish said elements of his mission. And I won't go too much into detail because obviously it's a manga and it's really short. But he's able to do that. So in volume 1, we do have the ability, and I'll show you this colored page because it's so cute. He is able to fulfill the requirements of what he is looking for, and we do see his journey to finding a child that he's going to raise and be with as his own to complete the mission he needs to complete. And he finds himself a partner, someone that he can call a wife, and have this family with. Obviously, his true identity is hidden, and that's part of like the interesting bit with this, is that the child and the spouse don't really know Twilight's true identity, or so we think, because she has some powers, and there's a lot of things happening there. But that's part of the thing, that they're not supposed to know each other's secret lives or secret abilities, if you will. And it's very wholesome, it's very cute, and I enjoyed it enough that I continued in the series. We'll talk about that in a minute. But yeah, this was Spy Family 1, and I did give it 4 stars. Is Spy Family 2, and I did read this on my Kindle. I was able to check it out from my library through Libby. I immediately, when I finished volume 1, wanted to continue in the series, and I did not have the physical version. So I was able to check it out from my library, and I was able to read it digitally. And I personally feel I enjoyed Spy Family 2 even more than I enjoyed Spy Family 1. I thought it was adorable. In Spy Family 2, we dive further into part of the mission, which is getting his child accepted into the school and everything that they have to do in order to infiltrate this school and pretend to be a family. And there's a test she has to take, and she's just the cutest little thing. And the dynamics are there's funny dialogue, there's great dynamics between them. And what I loved most about volume 2 is that we actually saw them become a family. Like, they were able to bond as a family, and they went on little trips and cooking together or eating their meals together, and how they are truly becoming like a little family. And so I thought it was even cuter than volume 1, and I was really invested in Spy Family Volume 2, which I also gave 4 stars. So next thing on my list is Real Account number 5. I also went ahead and read this on my Kindle. Real Account is phenomenal. I know I've talked about it before. I am already on volume 5, and it is available on Kindle Unlimited, which is wonderful because this does have a lot of volumes. This is, I believe, like a 16 volume, maybe not that much, but like at least 13 volume manga, and it is on Kindle Unlimited, and it's just wonderful. I have talked to you about the premise of this before, so I'll just kind of, since it's already volume 5, I'll just tell you a little bit. Real Account is a social media platform, and people who were consumed by it, they were obsessed with it. And so what ended up happening is everyone got pulled in to the game. Like, they got pulled into the virtual world of this, and they're now like stuck in it. And it's almost like a Squid Game kind of thing, where they need to survive these games in order to make it to the very end of this thing that is happening, the fact that they're stuck inside the game, the virtual social media app. And it's so cool. It's very reminiscent of Danganronpa. It's very reminiscent of Squid Game, for those of you who like that. And you guys know that I enjoy anything that has to do with like games, or that has to do with like Black Mirror stuff, science fiction things. And my favorite part of the series is all the challenges that they have to do. So as they are from the very beginning, their whole mission obviously is to survive, to not die, to be the winner of the game or whatnot. And they have to play all these games, and in every game that they play, it's very high stakes. So more people die, more people die. And the one constant though is they can't reach 0 followers. If at any moment during any part of the games they reach 0 followers on the app, they die. Right? That's kind of like one way that they for sure lose. And the games are very interesting. What I liked about this one, the reason I gave it 4 stars, is because I really enjoyed like what they're doing with the games now. For the last 2 volumes, the games had dragged on through multiple volumes, and I didn't really like that. Like I like, oh, this is a new game, this is a new game. I like the introduction of the new games, and that's my favorite part really. So I don't like when they stay with one game for too long, because then it kind of drags. So for the most part, I've given all the books in this series 4 and 5 stars. A couple of them I think got a 3, maybe just one of them, I'm not really sure. But I'm loving it so far. And I already went ahead and started volume 6. I'm currently working on it right now, and I'm really liking it. I'm liking where it's going. So great news as far as this series is concerned. So the 6th book on my list is a nonfiction work, and it is this beauty called Bibliophile, an illustrated miscellany by Jane Mount. And I bought this month. I don't even think you saw me hauling it, because I went ahead and I saw it at Barnes and Noble, and I fell in love with it. I had to have it. And I went ahead and got it, and immediately I read it and finished it. So it was in between hauls, and I didn't even get to show it to you, and now I guess you're seeing it now for the first time. I have all my little tabs on here because I really enjoyed this. So first, this, because I didn't really know what it was, right? I'm like, what exactly is this? And this is pretty much like a tribute to anything and everything books. That's pretty much what this is. And the author is also the illustrator. And I think that is probably the coolest part about this, that she has illustrated all, look at Phantom Tollbooth there. Isn't that great? She has illustrated everything in this book. And she illustrates stacks of books beautifully. And she also illustrates like real authors, and it's just so well done. It's divided into categories. It's very organized. So we have sections like this, right, which is kids picture books. So we'll see like feminist books and coming of age novels and works written by women, you know, things like that. Dystopian books. So you'll see all of the books that she kind of talks about illustrated like that, and then she'll kind of focus on 1 or 2 of the authors and give us like a little breakdown on those books or on those authors, right? And then we just have different sections of that. There's also a recurring section, which is beloved bookstores and beloved libraries. And these are real bookstores around the world. And she's illustrated them. And it's so beautiful. And then she tells you the location of the bookstore and what's unique about that bookstore, the history behind it. And she actually like draws them out. And I thought it was so cool, because a lot of these are places that I've been to and that I have seen. She also focuses on some of like the pets in bookstores, which I thought was really cool. And so she does that, and she draws them out, and she tells you where they live and how long they've been there and their name, and little things like that. And It was just wonderful. And just to see, for example, the Strand is a place that I went to in March when I was in New York. It's a staple for me to visit whenever I go there. And then they have, she even illustrated the totes, which every time I visit the Strands, I end up with a tote bag as well because they're iconic. Their tote bags are pretty much iconic. So I just, and speaking of iconic, here we have like iconic book covers. And so she talks about some of like the coolest covers, or books that have been around for years, but their covers keep being remade in the same fashion. I thought that was so cool as well. And yeah, there's all sorts of categories. There's essays and cooking books, writers' pets, and I thought that was just wonderful. And then she talks about like Hemingway and his cats, and I've been to the Hemingway house, and it was very cool for me. And I was tabbing either all the books that were special to me, or the places I had visited, or the authors that I was a fan of, and I thought it was great. I really, really enjoyed this. The only reason I think I didn't give it a 5 star is because it is a little bit older. This came out, I think, in 2018 or something. Yeah, this is from 2018. So I felt not dated, because how is it going to be dated, right? I mean, it's talking about classics and stuff like that too. But I just felt like I could tell that it was not like a recent book, because there were authors that I didn't see her mentioning, which I think she could have or would have. So that was the only thing that kept me personally, and that's just me because of when I'm reading it. Had I read this in 2018 when it came out, I'm sure I would have loved it even more. But that's the only thing that I wish there were some updates. Maybe she has another one coming out. I'm not really sure. If anyone has read this, or you know if she's coming out with another one, let me know. But this was truly a beautiful homage to everything that is books, and I learned a lot. I actually picked up some books. So I ordered a couple books that I saw recommended here, that either that I didn't know were about a certain thing, or just very cool things. I really enjoyed this section too, songs about books. I thought that was so cool, like all of the different songs based on different books. And I was so happy to see like certain songs that are very niche that I know about. For example, there's Kate Bush has a song named Wuthering Heights, and it's like one of my favorite songs. And I didn't think anyone knew that song. And here it is. Like she actually like included it on there. And I was just like, wow, that is awesome. Like how in depth, I guess, her research goes when she's putting this book together. So it was so well done. And I was just in awe of her talent for illustrating as well. So not just compiling all this information and putting all this together, um, but also like how well researched everything was. They had a beautiful map here, reading around the world, and it chooses like representative works from different parts of the world, and I thought that was wonderful. There were so many here that I had read, and so many others that I am curious to read. And I'm kind of talking myself into giving this like a 4.5 now, because I really, really loved it. So yeah, that's Bibliophile. So my next 4-star read that I really loved was Goosebumps #1, Welcome to Dead House. So again, I read this for middle grade March. I had read this before, so it is a reread for me. And it was really good, guys. Like, I feel like this stands the test of time. This came out in 1992, and I loved it. I thought it was creepy, like for being, I don't, part of me was like, I don't remember Goosebumps being this creepy. It was really, really creepy. So in this, we are following Amanda and Josh, siblings, that their parents are moving into this new house. And from the moment that they get there, they feel like the house is haunted. They feel something is up. Their dog starts misbehaving a little bit, and the neighborhood kids are kind of weird, and things turn scary and spooky and dark very quickly. And yeah, I thought it was great. It was action packed. There's one main reason why I didn't give it a 5 star, and it would be a spoiler to tell you why. But yeah, it's just something that happens in the book that I'm not happy with, or that I don't like. maybe adult me is just not happy with it or whatnot. But yeah, that's the only reason it's not a 5 star. Other than that, it was awesome. I really, really enjoyed picking this up. And now for Old School April, which you already saw that video, I am continuing my Goosebumps journey for Old School April. And yeah, I look forward to reading more of these. So next on our list, number 8, is Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, Volume 1 by Alvin Schwartz. This again is a 4-star read for me. And this first volume was just as cool and iconic as I remember it. It has great stories. Some of these images are so spooky. And I really enjoyed it. There were some little songs in here. And I think I have obviously a special place in my heart for this one because it is the first in the collection. I will be reading volume 3 for Old School April. So I'm getting to that third one because I originally had it there for middle grade March for this month, but I'm just carrying it over for next month. So I'm sure I'll enjoy that too. But there's just something about volume 1 that hits. I think it's the one I read the most. So it was just extra special for me. And again, it's the collections of the stories with the wonderful illustrations. And I found these to be extra creepy. Like volume 1 was scarier for me than volume 2. So the next book that I read, which I also gave 4 stars to, is The Echo Wife by Sarah Gailey. And this had been on my TBR for quite some time. I've been meaning to read this for a while. I have read from Sarah Gailey before. I have enjoyed her writing. I think she's mostly, though, a 4-star author for me. I don't think I've ever given any of her books a 5-star, but I really enjoy them. I think maybe, yeah, there is actually one that I give a 5-star. Home Sweet Home, I think it's that one. I have given that one, I think, 5 stars. But I think all her other stuff has been like 4 stars for me. But this was very, very good. So this is pretty much like a sci-fi thriller. In this, we are following Evelyn, and Evelyn is a scientist. And she is a woman who's very measured, and she's planned her entire life according to her love for academia. And she's at the opening of the book receiving an award, and we know that she has basically reached fame for her research and scientific advancement when it comes to cloning, to clones. And she has made some profound discoveries. And we find out at the beginning that she is separated, divorced from her husband, who also was a scientist and in the same field as her. And we find out that they're no longer together. And as we start to read, we start piecing things together, and we find out, I want to see how much the blurb says. Hold on. We find out that he has pretty much left her for another woman, right? And right at the opening of the book, that other woman reaches out to her and calls her on the phone. Martine, her name is Martine. And Martine is like the lover of the husband, who's now the official partner of the husband. Like they're now together. And she reaches out to her and she says, hey, I'd like to talk to you. I need to see you, all these things. And I'll just kind of leave it at the fact that we find out, I mean the readers, we find out that Martine is Evelyn's clone. That's right. Her husband cloned her and left her for the clone. And that's really that's revealed in the blurb. Okay, that's not what the big thing is, right? Like the big thing is what happens after, which I will not tell you. Okay, I won't mention any of that, which the blurb does say it, by the way. But I'll just leave it at that. Something happens, and then Martine and Evelyn are kind of working together, and it just puts a lot of questions in your head. And I think it's wonderful. I love books that are Black Mirror-ish. I love books, as you know, that have questions about how science affects us and our morality or our concept of what is right or wrong, and how a lot of times scientific advancements push those. Oh, this matches my nails. um how a lot of times scientific advancement kind of pushes our beliefs of our morals and our values, or challenges them. And I think this does a wonderful job of that. It's a fast, easy read, but uh, it's very, very intriguing. Like, and I don't want to say there's necessarily like a lot of plot twists. The reason I didn't give this, I was like, I feel like I have to explain why I didn't give it a 5 star, right? Like, if I loved it so much, why was this not a 5 star? And maybe it has to do with the way I think. Like, if I'm really loving a book, and I'm not giving it a 5 star, I'm like, why am I not? I ask myself, why is this not a 5 star? And I know a lot of times, a lot of us, many reviewers of books, have different criteria for what's a 5 star. A lot of people say it has to be like a favorite of all time, or it has to be something that like they'll never forget, or that. For me, it's not that. Like, I give a lot of 5 stars. For me, it's mostly a 4 star, which I believe is my most often given out rating. Is that there could have been something, there was something I wanted to happen that didn't happen. Usually that's the reason why I don't give the 5 star. If it's a book that I enjoyed as much as this one, and I feel like I wanted the book to go somewhere, like I wanted something to happen. I wanted this particular thing, like a very specific thing. I wanted that to be a part of the book. And I thought it was almost like a missed opportunity that that's not what happened. And that's the reason I gave it a 4 star, if that makes any kind of sense. So usually I think that's what keeps me from giving it that higher rating. But it's so wonderful. In any other kind of way, this is an easy 5 star, I'm sure, for a lot of people. It's really, really good. All right, guys, so we have left 4 star territory, and we are now entering 4.25, 4.5 territory. My initial, so this book, I guess before I clarify my rating, this book is Tender is the Flesh by Agustina Basterrica. So Tender is the Flesh, the whole book as I was reading was a 4 star for me. It was feeling like a 4 star read. The ending of this is very, very like, oh my God. So because of the ending, I felt compelled to bump it up. I just don't know how much I'm bumping it up. Like, I originally in my review for this on Goodreads put 4.25, but the more I think about it, you know how that is, right? Like, we read a book, we finish it, and it stays with us. Um, the more I think about it, I think I want to make it a 4.5 as of right now. Like, if I had to rate it right now, it would be a 4.5. So again, this is such a popular book, but I will share with you the premise just in case you don't know or you haven't read this. This is another one of those books that took me a really long time to get to. I've had this forever on my list of things that I want to read, and I even had it as part of my 24 to read in 24, and I didn't get to it. So finally, my best friend and I picked it for our book club, and this is the book that we just finished for our best friend book club. And I'm so glad. I'm so glad I was able to read it. So Tender is the Flesh is basically a dystopian horror book. And this is taking place in an unnamed South American country. So we know it's in South America. We can assume it's maybe Argentina because the author is Argentinian, but it really never tells you. We just know it's a country in South America, Spanish speaking country. In the world, because it is a dystopia. So in the world right now, it's our world, but like in a future where humans cannot eat animals anymore. Like, animals cannot be part of our diet because of this like virus or this disease. So we as humans can't eat them anymore. So what this society has gone to is they've pretty much started eating humans. Like, this is what happens here. It's a story of cannibalism, obviously. And the social commentary obviously is very strong with this. It's very elevated and profound thoughts. It's basically things that make us think of, our ways and the things that we do on our daily lives, and how we view animals, and how we view uh, everything around us as inferior to us as humans, how we feel we're like at the top of the food chain, right? So this is very gory. It's got a lot of body horror. So if you're into that, this has all of that in this. So I guess let me tell you, because I explained to you the setting, but let me tell you a little bit about the premise. We are following a man named Marcos, and Marcos is struggling in his life right now. He works at a plant for meat. You already know where I'm going with that. So he works at a plant for meat, and he is, as we begin reading the book, he's suffering a very big loss, and it's the loss of his son, of his baby son. So him and his wife are currently separated. She's trying to cope with the loss of the child. She has moved out of their home. He is just distraught. He is devastated, pretty much. His father is in a nursing home, in a caring facility, because he suffers from dementia, and he is pretty much the only one taking care of the father, because the sister really does not help or cooperate with the caring of the father. And so he's very burdened and very pressured by everything happening around him. And he starts to question how right this is, like this way of life, and the purpose of life, and the meaning of life, and the world around him. There are very graphic scenes of torture, graphic scenes of body horror, very some explicit sex scenes. So just so that you're aware of what you're getting into with this one. Um, but I love this, right, with the stamping or the branding kind of way of portraying the name. It's just so smart. This is a very smart book, guys. Why it's not a five? Um, the writing at times, and this is one of those where I'm not sure, and I had this conversation with my best friend. I'm not really sure if it's the translation, like something's a little bit off, or something about the writing is a little off, and I'm not sure if it's because it's a translated work. Now I have that in my head, and I want to read it in Spanish just so I can see. But at times the writing is a little heavy. There's lack of dialogue sometimes, which makes the writing feel a little bit pressing. There are some pages that are like blocks and blocks of text, like so it feels like a little heavy at times. For example, like if you see like this page right here, like it's one big block. There's like this is the continued paragraph, and it isn't until here. So a lot of times the writing is kind of difficult to get into. And I'm not really sure if that's because I know the paragraph length wouldn't really be a translation issue, but perhaps there's something about it that feels kind of dense. So it's hard to follow. Once you get used to the writing style, it was bothering me more at the beginning. Afterwards, I kind of like picked up on, okay, this is her writing style, and I got it. So the writing style wasn't my favorite, which is why it's a 4.5. That's the one thing. But in you know, any other day maybe that the writing style really didn't like, bug me at the beginning, this would have been a 5 star. It is an incredible, incredible book. And if you like this kind of stuff, this kind of book, I highly recommend it. All right. So now we have 2 books left. And these guys are my 5 stars of the month of March. I'm so excited. One is a nonfiction book, and the other is a romantic. It's a romance, and it's basically like lit fic. Like I'll tell you about that one now. First, let me go to the 5 star. That is my second favorite of this month, and this is 101 horror books to read before this happens to you. And it's by Sadie Mother Horror Hartman, and it's basically a compilation recommendation of the best horror books ever. And guys, this is such a wonderful resource. As you can see, I have like my little tabs here. So it's first a wonderful resource to find more books you might enjoy, but it is also beautiful to look at. There are some stunning illustrations on here. So the way it's divided, which I love anything that's well organized. I love a well organized collection. So she goes ahead and she divides it, right? So this is paranormal horror. And she has an essay. A lot of times she writes the essay, but other times it's like a famous author writing an essay. So this section here is all going to be her favorite paranormal books or recommendations for paranormal reads. And she then breaks that down into different subgenres of the paranormal. So here, for example, she starts with haunted houses, and she gives us a breakdown of haunted houses. And I was just loving everything, guys. I mean, she has a quote up here by Shirley Jackson from The Haunting of Hill House. And then she makes a reference to Manderley from Rebecca, my favorite book of all time, and Hill House, which is another one of my favorites. And she talks about those as haunted houses and, you know, inspiration for this. And then she begins the recommendations. And what follows is recommendations of books, the title, the year was published, the cover, a cute little reference guide to the book, and then a very cool synopsis that she herself writes about the book. And, you know, that's just one, right? But then she keeps going. And like all of these are recommendations for great haunted house books. Oh, that's the one I was talking about earlier, Just Like Home. That's what it's called, from Sarah Gailey. I love that one. So then when she's done with the paranormal haunted houses, she gives you one author spotlight who writes great haunted house stories and gives you recommendations of all of that author's books and why they're great. And then moves on to another aspect of the paranormal. So she goes on to ghosts. And so once she's done with all the different sections of paranormal, she eventually moves on to another section or another type. So here we have like human monsters. And then she's obviously going to divide that, right? So we have different types of human monsters, and then that there's subdivisions of that. So I just find that it is so well put together. It's so informative. I can't even begin to tell you how many books I added to my TBR because of this, how many books I went ahead and ordered because of this. It's just, it catches your attention. She has a wonderful way of pitching books to you. Yeah, I've been reading this for a really long time. What I like to do with these kinds of books is I'll read a couple pages here and there. So I always have it with me on my book sleeve. And whenever I'm not ready to, like, I don't have a lot of time, or I'm not going to dive into like whatever novel I'm currently working on, I'll just go ahead and read a few pages from whichever one of these I'm working on. And it was so well done and well put together. And I learned about a bunch of new authors, and there were a lot of authors that I already knew about. And that was also nice and validating to see that books that I really enjoy are also books that she really enjoys. And yeah, it's absolutely wonderful. She has a new book coming out, I believe August. I pre-ordered it already. And I believe it's another book like this one. So I'm very excited for that. And now, guys, it is time for me to tell you my favorite book of March. This book almost feels like a fever dream, not because of its content or anything. I barely remember reading this. Like, I started reading this and I could not put it down. I read this in one day. I normally like to savor my reads. I like to take my time when I am reading a book. In particular, if I'm enjoying a book, I like to periodically stop, kind of make it, you know, last a little longer, let me think about it, read it throughout a couple sittings. I could not. I had to finish it. And right now I'm you know, trying to piece together what I loved about it, and obviously I'll tell you all the things I enjoyed about it. But mostly I'm so intrigued or shocked by the fact that there were a lot of things also that I didn't really love about it, but it made me love the book even more, which sounds so weird, I know. Um, so my favorite book of the month of March is This Is a Love Story by Jessica Soffer. I knew from the moment I picked this up, and I believe I said that in either my TBR of March video or in my haul. I don't remember, but I remember sharing with you that I was hesitant to read this because I knew it was going to make me cry, and I avoid things that make me cry. So this originally came into my radar because it's a Read with Jenna book, and whenever I can read the books that are part of these book clubs, Read with Jenna or Oprah or Good Morning America or Reese's. If I like the book, I'll read it. So I don't make the commitment to read all of the books that they pick, but basically once they announce their books, if it's based on the synopsis, if it's something that I think I will like, I pick it up and I read it. So that's the reason I first picked this one up. And the premise, first I'll tell you what this book is about. So in this book, we are following Abe and Jane, who are an elderly couple, and they've been together 50 years, a lifetime, right? And from the beginning of the book, we know that they are in their old age, and we know Jane is dying. Like, it's clear from the beginning that she's dying. And what is happening is that the book is a conversation that Abe is having with her, and he's reminding her of their life together. Like, he's basically telling her of all the memories that they have made throughout the years. So, a couple things about that that I loved is that the book is told, I'm going to get to it now. The book is told in second person. So, second person POV is not a common narrative. I know it can be annoying to some people, or some people do not like that narrative voice. I happen to like it, and I think I happen to like it more in this case because it fits. Because Abe is basically talking to Jane. So through the second person point of view, we know he's addressing her. So, for example, the chapter starts, "Some days you want to tell me you remember. You remember when we met? Tavern on the Green, July 1967. You were waitressing to pay for books at Cooper Union." So he's basically talking to her. So I know he's in a space with her, sharing these intimate moments of their past with her. So I enjoy the fact that it is told in second person. I think it's so beautiful, and it's part of what I enjoyed the most about this, that dialogue that is existing between them. And there's a sense of pressure for him to quickly recount their story, and he's like, it's like a sense of urgency, and we understand that because we know her days are limited, so we know she's going to die. So that's why he's like, eager to share this story. And it's just, it really hits very hard, like it's very impactful to witness this love story of theirs. Now, in addition to that, which I loved, includes chapters labeled just Central Park. And those chapters are an homage to Central Park. They are descriptions of Central Park. It says, "Some people come to the park because they want to fall in love for the first time, the 12th time, the final time. Some have been used, widowed, or bored stiff. They have spent the past decade in deep introspection, falling in love with themselves and no one else first." And it just starts telling you about all the things you see and hear and smell in Central Park. And maybe it's because I love Central Park, maybe it's because I love New York, that this is particularly special to me. But I really do love how Central Park is pretty much a character. It feels like a character in the book. And whenever a book is able to do that, I really, really enjoy that. Now, I told you about some of the things that I don't necessarily love. At some point, we stop with the second person POV and Abe talking to Jane, and we get perspectives from their son. We get perspectives from Jane herself. And those were not my favorites. I honestly, I think I would have preferred to have had Abe talking to her the whole time, and then the Central Park chapters, and that be it. I don't think it was necessary for us to get the child's POV, um which he's not a child obviously, but you know, the son's POV, or even Jane's POV. I didn't think it was necessary, but I do like that that adds like an extra layer to their relationship, which is like two-dimensional, kind of like expands, and we start to see the ugly and the imperfect about life, about relationships, and that not everything is perfect, or is the way that we wish it were. And just because something is less than perfect or has flaws or damages or mistakes doesn't mean that we appreciate it less. So I think in all of that, it makes it even more beautiful. So I wish it didn't have those parts, but I appreciate what the author was doing with that and why she did that. And so I like that. I like that as a whole and as a package for this book. And I really, really enjoyed it. This was my favorite read. I knew I was going to like it. I just didn't think I'd like it this much. And yeah, this was absolutely wonderful. 5-star. It's a new favorite. I wish I wouldn't have read it so fast. I kind of want to go back and reread it now, like a little bit slower. But it was really fun. It was great. All right, guys. So there you have it. These were the 12 things that I read this month, and I hope you enjoyed listening to me share with you my favorite parts of my March reading. How did your March reading go? Did you get to read everything on your TBR? Because I sure didn't, but I'm happy with everything I did read, and I loved some of these worlds that I got to spend some time in. I also liked how diverse my reading was this month, because at times my reading, you know, can be kind of tedious, so I really enjoyed that. So overall, I'm pretty happy with the way that March went. And you guys already saw my TBR for April, so I hope April is going to be great too. I already finished one book and I'm halfway through another, and things are looking good. So it seems like it's going to be very, very promising. So I think that's it from me in this video. Thank you guys again so much for watching. I appreciate you being here. Please consider liking this video. Please leave me some comments down below. Let's talk a little bit about books. And yeah, consider subscribing to my channel if you enjoyed this content. Once again, thank you so much for being here, and I'll talk to you later, guys. Bye!